This conference will now be recorded.
So far, we're done with 3 introduction classes. Today's class is introduction class 4. What we are going to discuss in today's classes. So far, we've seen, let me open Notepad. Today's class is class number 4, fourth introduction class. What we are going to discuss in the class 4, let me write here. So, out of total 5 introduction classes, we already done with 3 introduction classes, and today's class is fourth class, class number 4. Let me tell you, before we go and discuss class 4, let me tell you what we have done so far. So far, uh, we install the Power BI desktop software, and once after installing Power BI desktop software, we open Power Query, and I explain using Power Query how to connect to the data sources, how to extract the tables. First thing I explain is, so far we understand connecting to the data sources and extracting the tables, connecting to data sources and extract the tables. Extract the tables means bring the tables. Extract or bring the tables to where? Power Query. That is what we explained first. Once after bringing the tables to the Power Query, I explain you how to transform the data in the tables. I explain you how to transform the data in the tables. Next point, we discussed transform data in the tables as per client requirement, as per client requirement in Power Query. And then load the tables, how to load the tables from Power Query to Power Pivot, we discussed. How to load the tables from Power Query to Power Pivot, we discussed. Load tables from Power Query to Power Pivot, we discussed. So all these three we have done in Power Query. Next, what we discussed once after this. Once after loading the tables, you'll get the tables into the Power Pivot. Between the tables, we establish the relationships. Between the table, we established what? Relationship. Next step we did is we establish the relationship with the tables. Establish the relationships between tables. Establishing the relationship between the tables, we call it as what? Data modeling. We establish the relationship with the tables. We call it as data modeling. In which software you establish the relationship between the tables? In Power Pivot. We discussed. So once you load the tables, once you establish the relationships, we can go and use these tables and these relationships to create the visuals. These tables and relationships you can use to create visuals, or we will use these tables and relationships to create reports. We can do that. But these tables and relationships will help us to hardly show 70 to 80% of information only. 70 to 80% of information. Client will ask us in the reports or visuals, clients will ask us some new information which will not be readily available in our tables. We need to show that new information. To show that new information, we need to derive and we need to show it. So that we call it as enhancing the data model. So till data modeling we discussed in the last class. So the next one we need to discuss about is enhancing the data model. So I said that why we need to enhance the data model at a high level in the last class. I said that client will provide the data sources and client will ask Power BI developer to show some information in the visuals. Once you build the data model, you can show only 70 to 80% of information in the visuals. Clients will ask us to show some new information in the visuals, which is not readily available in our data model. So as yesterday I given some examples. What are the new information client asked me to show? Total salary, which is not readily available in our tables. percentage sales which is not readily available in the tables, year over year growth which is not readily available in the tables. So we need to derive them and we need to show them. Let's understand today's class, guys. So to understand today's class, let me open Power BI desktop software. I'll go and open Power BI desktop. So we'll continue. So we will start the practicals and we'll continue now. Once after opening Power BI desktop, just close the welcome screen and go to Power Query. How to go to Power Query? Let's repeat this step quickly. Already I said that we are done with this, right? Let's repeat this step quickly. So first go to Power Query, go to Home tab, click on Transform Data. In Power Query, bring some tables, click on New Source Excel. Quickly, I'll bring some tables. I'll bring couple of tables from Sample Superstore. Sample Superstore, I'll bring Orders table, People's table, and Returns table. Press OK. I'll bring some more tables from another Excel file. Click on Excel, EMP, DEPT Excel file. Click on Open. EMP table, DEPT table, and Managers table. Press OK. Right. Once after bringing the tables, we need to go and start transforming the data in the tables. There are some tables where we'll have proper data. In people's table, use first row as header. In the returns table also, use first row as header. If required, go and transform the data in the tables. And then load the tables into the Power Pivot. To load the tables, click on Close and Apply. When I click on Close and Apply, the tables, where you can see them? In the model view. You need to go to model view and you can see the tables. When you go to model view, in the model view, you can have the tables here, right? Model view, we can have the tables. Now, okay, I have the tables here. What is the next step once after loading the tables? We've seen so far connecting to data sources, extract the tables to Power Query, transform the data in the tables as per client requirement, load the tables from Power Query to Power Pivot. So what is the next step? Fourth step. First step is this. Second step is this. Third step is this. And what is the fourth step? Establish the relationship between the tables. Where we need to go and establish the relationship between the tables? We need to go to model view. In the model view, let's say yesterday I discussed it. So I want to create a visual using this orders table and returns table. To create a visual using orders table and returns table, what you need to have here? Relationship. To establish a relationship, what you need to have between the tables? Common column. What is the common
Common
column
call.
you have here? Order ID,
Order
order ID.
ID.
Select order ID from one table, drag and drop on order ID in another table. Select order ID in one table, drag and drop on order ID in another table. When I drag and drop on it, are you getting the relationship or not here? Yes, sir. So like this, once after loading the tables, you need to go and start establishing the relationships. The process of establishing these relationships, we call it as what? Data modeling. So once you are done with data model, you can go to report view directly. You can start creating the visuals. You can go to report view. We can start creating the visuals. Where we can go? Report view. And in the report view, we can go and start creating the visuals. But the problem is when you start creating the visuals here, we are telling that we can show maximum how much information? 80% of information only. So yesterday, I given one example. My client is asking to create one visual to show employee name, salary, and commission. How to show employee name and salary and commission is go to employee table. So I'm in which view now? Report view. What you will do in the report view? When you are in the report view, you will get one white space. What is the name of this white space means? Report canvas. What you will do in the report canvas? You can build the visuals using what? Data. Using this data or using these tables, we will build the visuals in the report view. Now, yesterday we built one visual with the name table visual. I'm just clicking on this visual. It got added here. In this visual, I need to show employee name, salary, and department commission. So my client is asking, along with the salary and commission, they're asking to show total salary. When I go and check the total salary in the employee table, I don't have it. It's a new information what client is asking to see in the visual, which is not readily available in my tables. I need to derive it. I need to show it. To derive it, now I need to go and make some changes to my data model. Making the changes to the data model, we call it as what? Enhancing the data model. Enhancing the data model. Let me write the definition of enhancing the data model. Enhancing the data model is nothing but creating new information using existing information. new information using existing information. So important thing is, whatever the new information your client is asking to show here, you no need to go and bring it from outside. So in order to bring total salary, you no need to go out and you no need to bring it. You will use existing information. Which information will help you? Salary plus commission will help you to give the total salary. That is what we are telling. So we need to create the new information using already existing information in the tables. So we are telling that new information can be created using what? Existing information. Only existing information is not sufficient to create the new information. So to create, in order to create the new information along with the existing information, we need one language called DAX language. Which language? DAX language. In order to derive the new information, whatever the information already there in the tables, I'll use it. Along with that information, I'll use one language called what? DAX. DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions Language. Data Analysis Expressions Language. We call this as a functional language. Functional language. So data analysis, D stands for data, A stands for analysis, X stands for expressions language. We call this as a functional language. So we call C language as programming language. In order to get any output in the C language, in order to derive some output in the C language, you will write programs. You will write programs. But in order to get some output in the DAX language, we don't write programs. We'll use functions. So DAX language contains dozens of functions in it. DAX language, majorly it contains 99% of DAX language is all about functions. There are a lot of pre-built functions available. We will use that functions to derive what? New information. So as mostly we use functions to derive the new information, we call this language as what language? Functional language. So it not only contains functions, along with the functions, it will even contains operators. Operators. What are the examples for functions means? Examples for functions. So like this, let me open one DAX document. So there are a lot of different categories of functions here. When I go here, as I said, this DAX, data analysis expressions language, is a functional language. There are a lot of DAX functions here. When I go to the DAX functions, there are different categories of functions like date and time functions, time intelligence functions, filter functions, information functions, mathematical and trigonometric functions. Lot of functions will be there. Based on the output you need to derive, we need to go and choose the function. Right? When I go to date and time functions, again, you'll find lot of functions here. Calendar is one function. Date diff is one function. Year is one function. Weekday is one function. Like this, lot of functions will be there. So along with the functions, I said that we'll have one more thing called what? Operators. DAX majorly contains two things. One is functions. Second one is what? Operators. What are the different operators you have is arithmetic operators. We know about it. Look at this. These are arithmetic operators. Plus, so we have these operators in other softwares also. In the same way, comparison operators, equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than, less, not equal to, like this. And logical operators. We'll talk about this. DAX language, you need to understand for now, DAX language contains what? Some functions and operators. So lot of functions will be there. Even let's say there is other functions like, when I go to functions, mathematical and trigonometric functions. Here, when you go here, lot of mathematical and trigonometric functions will have. Right? Then some function, some x function. Like this, lot of functions will be there. Right? You'll understand. Now we understand at a high level what are the functions and what are the operators. Whenever we need to derive the new information, already what information is there in the tables, we need to use it, and we need to use DAX language. We need to use DAX language means what we will use in the DAX language? Functions plus operators. We use DAX language means we use DAX functions and DAX operators, right? So let me tell you where we will derive the new information. We already know where to do the ETL in Power BI Desktop. Tell me where to do the ETL in Power BI Desktop. Under transform data,
Our
you need to go to transform data and you need to do what? ETL. So once after the ETL, second work is data modeling or establishing the relationships. Where we need to establish the relationships? Model view.
Manage
We need to go to
relationship.
model view.
Man-
We need to go to model view and we need to establish the relationships. So once after data modeling, what you need to do? You need to enhance the data model. Enhancing the data model, we also call it as creating new information.
relation.
What is the other name for enhancing the data model? Creating new information. Where we will create the new information is, we will create the new information in the data view. We need to go to data view in order to create the new information. Let me write here. Data view is the place where we will create the new information. Data view is the place where we will create what? New information, or you will enhance the data model in the data view, right? First, let me complete this visual, guys. In order to, you already went to report, you created one visual. In order to complete this visual, what you need to show in this visual? Total
Total.
salary. If you show total salary, this visual will complete. Let me complete it. In order to complete it, I want to derive this new information. To derive this new information, we are telling that we need to go to where? Data view, and we need to select the table where we need to derive the new information. Total salary is related to which table out of the 6 tables? Which table? Employee
Employee.
table. You need to select the employee table. Once you select the table, you will get the table tools. In the table tools, you will get a section called calculations. Calculations is the place where you will derive the new information. This is the place where you will derive the new information. Let me quickly write the navigation. We are telling that to derive the new information, go to data view and then select the table where we need to create the new information. Select the table where we need to create new information. Once you select the table where we need to create the new information, you will get table tools. In the table tools, you'll have a section called calculations. Calculations is the place where we will derive the new information, guys. One more important thing you need to understand is, so client will just tell that what they want to see in the visual. Yesterday I given few examples what kind of new information your client is asking to show. Yesterday I given some examples what kind of new information your client is asking to show. Where is that? Right. These are the new information your client is asking to show here. You need to derive this kind of new information in which view? Data view. So in Power BI, we will derive three types of new information. Three types of new information will derive. Sometimes to fulfill the client requirement, first type of new information we need to derive is columns. First type of new information we need to derive is columns. Second one is what? Measures. Third one is tables. So in Power BI, to fulfill the client requirement, sometimes when you create the columns, you will fulfill the requirement. Sometimes when you go and create the measures, you will fulfill the requirements. Sometimes when you go and create the tables, you will fulfill the client requirement, what they are asking to show. Right. Here, when I go to the data view, when I select the table, when I go to calculations, so in order to create the column, I'll discuss, guys. So Power BI developer need to have a clear idea. Client will just tell that what information they want to see. What information they want to see, they'll tell us. First, Power BI developer need to decide to show this, whether I need to create a column or whether I need to create a measure or whether I need to create a table to show this. We need to decide. I'll tell you when to create columns, when to create measures, when to create tables. I'll tell you now. But understand here. So we'll create three types of new information to fulfill your client requirement. So when you want to derive the columns, you'll use an option called new column option. Yes, column can be derived using, when you click on new column, using this you can derive the column. Column can be derived using an option called new column. Measure can be derived using an option called either a new measure or quick measure. New measure, or we can use quick measure. So when to use new measure, when to use quick measure, we'll understand in the coming classes. Whenever we need to derive the measure, we can use either one, either a new measure or either a quick measure. Last type of new information we'll create is tables. Tables can be created using an option called what? New table. Table can be created using an option called new table. Let's see. Now we understand to fulfill the client requirement, we need to derive these three types of new information. Let me write here. Whenever we need to derive any type of new information, what are the three types of new information? First one is what? Columns. Second one is measures, and third one is tables. To derive these columns, measures, or tables, we need to write DAX formulas. We need to write formulas by using which language? To derive the new information, we need to write the formulas using which language? DAX language. You need to go and write DAX formulas. So while writing the DAX formulas, what are the things you will use? Tell me. In order to derive the new
Functions and
information,
operate.
We need to write DAX formulas. First thing, what you will use in DAX formula? First you will
Functions
use,
and
Functions and operators.
before
functions and
functions and
operators.
operators, you will use what?
Oh,
Existing information.
existing
In
information.
DAX formulas, you need to go and use first existing columns. So along with the existing columns, you need to use what? Functions and
DAX
operators.
line.
Simple.
Yeah.
So simple things. So whenever we need to derive any output here, any new information, first you need to decide to derive this new information, whether I need to create a column, whether I need to create a measure, you need to decide. Once you decide, you need to go and start writing the formula using existing columns, DAX functions and DAX operators. This all three together will help you to derive what? New information. Let me show you. Now, first, I want to show here total salary now. First, Power BI developer need to decide to show this total salary whether I need to create a column or whether I need to create a measure. Which one will help me to show this? You need to have an idea. So first, let me tell you when to create the columns. In which scenarios we need to create the columns, I'll tell you first. First type of new information we'll create is what? Columns. Let's understand when to create the columns. When to create columns. When to create columns is sometimes your client will ask us to show some new information. In order to show that new information, I need to go to backend table. I need to derive a value for every row. A value for every row. Let's say now my client is asking to show total salary here. I have totally in employee table, how many employees I have totally means this is employee table. I'm in the data view. When I go to data view, I can see the data in the table. In the data view, when I select the employee table, I can see how many employees are there. How many employees are there? 15 employees. So when I have 15 employees, my client is asking to show for each employee what is the total salary. That means what I need to do is I need to go to backend table. In the backend table, for every row, I need to derive one value. For clerk, I need to take their salary. I need to take their commission. I need to derive the total salary. Same way for King, I need to derive it. For Miller, I need to derive it. For Smith, I need to derive it. Like this, for every row in the table, I need to derive one value and I need to show. So when you have 15 employees, how many values you need to derive is 15 values I need to derive. For every row, when you need to derive one value, in that scenarios we need to create the column, guys. So this time my requirement is here, in order to show this new information, I need to show 15 different values. I need to go to the backend table. In the backend table, for every row I need to derive one value. Let me tell you when to derive the columns means. There are sometimes your client will ask you to show that new information. To show that new information, for every row in the table we need to create one column. In a table for every row, if we need to show one value, if we need to show a value, we need to create columns. We need to create what? Columns. In a table for every row, if you need to show one value, in a table for every row, if you need a value or if you need to derive one value, if you need a value, we'll go and create the columns. We need to create columns. This time the requirement is same. In order to show this, I need 15 values here. I need to go to employee table. For every row I need to derive one value. So I said that we decided now we need to create a column. To create the column, go to the data view, select the table. Out of this four, which one will help us to create the column? Click on new column. When I go and click on new column, it will open the formula bar. I said that whether you want to create a column or a measure or a table, what you need to write? DAX formula. Now it open the formula bar here. This is the line number. We will write the DAX code in multiple lines. One line number one, two like this. So first one is line number. After line number, you have column name. What is the column we are planning to derive? What is the column we are planning to derive? Total salary. What is that? Total salary. Any column name we can give it. Total salary. After equal to what we need to write? We need to write what? After equal to DAX formula. In DAX formula, what are the things we need to use? Existing information, functions, operators. You need to decide to get this total salary, which existing information will help us. In this table, which existing information will help us? Salary, commission. Along with salary, commission, tell me whether we need to use functions or operators. We need to do salary plus commission. So this plus is what? Function or operator? Operator. We need to use what? Operator. It's an arithmetic operator. You need to go and write the formula like salary column, DAX operator called plus, and commission column. When I go and run this formula, it will throw error. What you are getting in the output? error. So I use the salary column correctly, I use the commission column correctly, I use plus here, but output you are not getting. So why you are not getting is DAX, every language will follow some syntax. C language will follow some syntaxes, C++ language will follow some syntax, Java will follow syntax. In the same way, DAX language will also follow what? Syntax. So what is the syntax DAX language will follow is, whenever we need to use any existing column, you are not supposed to write only column name. First, you need to start with table name. Whenever we need to use the columns, first you need to start with table name, and in that, along with the table name, you need to write the column name. So write the table name in the square bracket, write the column name, then only it will not throw error. So this is nothing but syntax. Don't ask why we need to write table name, square bracket, column name. Means it is the syntax which DAX language is asking to follow us. Now I said that you need to write emp salary column, close the square bracket. Then again table name emp, open the square bracket, commission. Whenever we need to use any columns, you need to write table name, square bracket, column name. Is it showing now? 2450 plus nothing, how much it is? 2450. 800 plus 400, how much it is? 1200. Now you got the total salary for how many employees you got it? You got 15 values now. For every row, one value. So here, luckily, you don't need to type complete table name and column name. Just type column name. Automatically, Power BI will show it. So click on this with the mouse or click on tab in the keypad. When I click on mouse, you will get that into the formula bar. Plus, just type commission. Power BI will show table name, square bracket, column name. Click on tab in the keypad. When I click on tab in the keypad, you'll get into the formula bar. Right. Now, tell me, in this visual, can I go on show total salary now? In the employee table, do you have total salary now? Yes. We
Yes.
can just go and drag this total salary. We drag this total salary, 1600 plus 300, how much it is? 1900. You are able to show it. You are able to show the new information here. Fine. Let me tell you a second requirement. My client is asking to create one visual. In this visual, client is asking to show employee name and salary. So I taken another table visual here. They're asking to show employee name and salary. So I'll go to employee table. I'll drag the employee name. I'll drag the salary. Beside the employee name and salary, client is asking to show salary range. What they're asking to show? Salary range. Whether salary is low salary or high salary, they're asking to show. The requirement is when the salary is less than 1000, they want to see it as low salary. When the salary is greater than or equal to 1000, they want to see it as high salary. So they're expecting to see one information called salary range in the visual. When I go to employee table, when I check it, do you have any salary range column in the table now? When I go and check the employee table, nowhere I have salary range column. Salary range is a new information which your client is asking to show here. Tell me, first you need to decide to show the salary range, whether you need to create a column or whether you need to create a measure, you need to decide. So already I explained when to create the columns. When to create the columns? There are sometimes your client will ask you to show what? Some new information. To show that new information, you need to go to the table and you need to derive a value for every row. Then we need to create the column. Now tell me, in this scenario, to show the salary range, whether I need to create a column or other than column. 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 Column or other than column means you need to create a column again. Why again a column? Why again a column? For every employee, you need to show salary
Information.
range here. For every row, you need one value. So you need to go and take for every employee their salary, and you need to tell whether it is a low salary or high salary. For Clark, it is a low salary or high salary. High salary. For Smith, it is a low salary or high salary. Low salary. For every row, you need one value again. For every row, when you need a value, we need to create what? Column. Go to the data views, select the employee table. Column can be created using which option? New column. It will open a formula bar. You can give the column name. What is the column name? Salary range, any name we can give before equal to. After equal to, we need to write the DAX formula. While writing the DAX formula, first you need to decide which existing information will help you to derive that new information. Which DAX functions might help you, which operators might help you need to decide. Let me tell you, this time I need to use one DAX function called if. I need to check the condition, whether the salary is less than 1000 or not. I need to check the condition. If you want to check the condition in any language, you need to use one function called what? If. So it is a DAX function. So you need to write first in the if function, you can write condition. Logical test is nothing but one condition. If this condition is true, what you want? If this condition is false, what you want, you can write it. Please be on mute. Fine. What is our condition is? I want to write the condition based on which column? I'll go with salary column. When salary column is less than 1000, when this condition is true, what you want? Low salary. You want to write it as low salary. When this condition is false, what you want? High salary. High salary. You need to write simple formulas like this, DAX formulas. Now, if you go and check it, for first row, 2450. 2450, is it less than 1000? Condition is false. Condition false means high salary. 800. 800, is it less than 1000? True. Condition true. True means low salary. Like this, now you got high salary or low salary here. Now, can I show salary range in the visual now? Yes, we have a salary range column. We can go and show it. Now, so tell me salary range. We call it as what? New information. We call it as what? New information. If we call it as what? DAX function. Less than we call it as what? Operator. Comparison operator. EMP salary we call it as what? Existing information. We call it as what? Existing information. Now you are deriving the new information using what? Existing information, functions plus operator. Sometimes you might use all the three together and you will derive new information. So in the previous scenario, I used only existing information plus operators. Sometimes to derive the output, only existing information and operators itself is sufficient. You can get the output. Sometimes to derive the output, you need to use existing information, functions, operators, all three together also. Sometimes to get the output, you might need to use only existing information and functions. Only with existing information and functions also you can derive what? Output. So you need to know what information I need, what I need to use them to get it. So we'll discuss that case extensively. We understand when to create the columns. So let me tell you what is the second type of new information we create. Measures. Let me tell you when to create the measures. Once after understanding columns, now let me tell you when to create measures. When to create measures is there are sometimes your client will ask you to show some new information. To show that new information for group of rows, you need one value. Let's take an example. My client is asking to create one visual here. They're asking to show sum of salary we are paying for all the 15 employees. My CEO want to see what is the salaries we are paying for all our employees. How many employees are working with you? 15. For each employee, you are paying some salary, right? They want to see for all the employees together how much sum of salary we are paying. All the 15 employees together, one value they want to see. So this time, my client is asking to show sum of salary. So this is when I go and check my orders table. Do you have any column called sum of salary column here? No, you don't have any sum of salary here. So the sum of salary is new information. What information it is? New information. The sum of salary, what my client is asking to show is new information. So in the visual, now client is asking to show, previously in the visual client is asking to show 15 values here. Here also in the visual client is asking to show 15 values here. But this time client is asking to create one visual, they're asking to show only one value. How many values they're asking to show? Only one value. So let me tell you when to create a measure. In a table, for group of rows, if you need one value. In a table, for group of rows, if we need a value, we will create measure. We will create what? Measures. Simple guys. For there are sometimes client will ask you to show new information. If they're asking to show 15 rows are there in EMP table, 15 values, that means every row one value. Every row one value means what? Column. So there are sometimes client will ask you to show some new information. To show that new information, what you need to do is group of rows you need one value. Group of rows when you need one value, we need to create what? Measures. So here, what is the example I given is total salary. Total salary is the new information what my client is asking. In order to show, I need every row one value. Sum of salary is another new information my client is asking to show for group of rows I need one value. I need to create a measure. To create a measure, to derive the new information, where you need to go? Go to data view, select which table? Which table sum of salary is related to? Employee. To create a measure, which option? Either a new measure or quick measure. For now, I'll go with new measure. In the coming class, I'll talk about quick measure. What is the measure name we can give? Sum of salary. Any name we can give it. What this one stands is line number. You just ignore it. To get it, whether it is a column or a measure or a table, what you need to write? DAX formula. In the DAX formula, you need to decide which existing information I need to use, which function I need to use, which operator I need to use. Now, I know that there is one DAX function with the name called sum function. What is the DAX function name? Sum. To the sum function, what you need to pass? Column name. What it will do? Which column we will pass here? Salary. What it will do? Add all the numbers in the column. Now I need to add all these numbers in this column. I need to sum them. So you just go and pass salary column. Whenever we need to pass any column name, first you need to write what? Table name, square bracket, column name. Close this. Now tell me, sum of salary is what here? New information. Measure, it's a new information. Sum is what? Function. EMP salary is what? Existing information. Now you are deriving new information using what? Existing information and what? Function. Only these two you are using. Click on enter. Now, when I go to employee table now, do you have sum of salary? Yes, you can show it. Now go and choose one visual where you need to show that sum of salary. I need to show that sum of salary in a which visual? Card. I'm adding a card visual. I'll go and drag what here? Sum of salary. For all the 15 employees, how much sum of salary you are paying? 39,000 I am paying for all the employees together. 39,025 rupees I am paying for all my employees. That is what you are showing here, right? Right. Now tell me, my client is asking to show one more information. How many employees are working in the company? They're asking to show what here? Count of employees. To show when I go and check the employee table, do you have any information called count of employees? You don't have it. It is what again? New information. So we need to decide to show this new information whether I need to create a column or measure. Tell me what I need to create. Measure. Why? Because for group of rows I need one value. I need to create a measure. Correct. You need to create a measure. Where you will create a measure? Go to data view, select the table, click on what? New measure. What is the measure name? Count of employees. Count of employees. Any name we can give it. So after equal to, you need to write DAX formula. What might be the DAX function which will help you is count. There is a DAX function with the name called count. You need to pass one column. What it will do? Count the numbers in that column. Which column we generally pass? Employee number. We need to count employee numbers. How many employees are there? Click on enter. Now you got count of employees here. Can I show that in the visual now? Yes. I can take one visual, a card visual. I can go and drag what? Count. How many employees are working with us? 15. For that 15 employees, what you are paying? 39K sum of salary. See, for there are some times we need to derive some new information like sum of salary, count of employees. All this comes under what? What type of information? New information. So to derive this new information for group of rows, if you need a value, we need to create the measures. So fine. Now let's understand. We understand when to create the columns and measures, guys. There are types of measures. There are what? Types of measures. What are the types of measures we have is one is implicit measures. Second one is explicit measures. So explicit measures. So whatever I define here, we can even define in other way also. I said that when you went for an interview is asking a question when to create measures. One way you can tell this, it is correct. Second way, we can even tell this. Whenever we need to perform aggregate calculations, whenever we need to perform aggregate calculations, whenever we need to perform aggregate calculations, comma, percentages, we will create measures, guys. We'll create what? Understand? Whenever your requirement is, you need to derive aggregate calculation. Sum of salary comes under what calculation? Aggregate. Count of employees comes under what calculation? Aggregate. Whenever we need to perform aggregate calculations or whenever we need to derive percentages, we need to create what? Measures. Generally, aggregate calculations and percentages always deals with what? Group of rows. Both statements are correct here. Either you can tell this to the interviewer or you can tell this. Now, there are two types of measures. Implicit measures. There are sometimes uh, without writing the formula, you can perform aggregate calculations. So whenever, without writing the formula, when you show a measure value without writing formula, if we show a measure value, we call as implicit measures, guys. There are sometimes for group of rows you need one value. For group of rows, if you need a value, you no need to go and write the formula. Without writing the formula also you can show it. When you show it, that kind of measures, we call it as what? Implicit measures. Take an example. I want to show, previously to show count of employees, you derived a measure. To show the same count of employees, you no need to even go and create a measure. Let me show you. I'm taking one card visual. Into the card visual, I'm going and dragging employee number column. When I drag the employee number column, is it giving count of employees here? No. So by default, when you go to this employee number, what it is doing here? Sum. I don't want what here? Sum. I want what? Count. You can just go and change it to count. Now are you seeing count of employees here? So to show this information, I'm not writing any formula. I just drag the employee number column. I change the aggregation to what? Count. I'm able to get it. Without writing the formula, when you show the measure value, this kind of measures, we call it as what? Implicit measures. So in the same way, to show sum of salary, you written the formula. You are showing 39K. What is the other way to show this is, you no need to go and create the measure. You just take one card visual. Into card visual, go and drag which column? Salary. When I drag the salary column, Power BI is doing what? Sum. So you are, to show this for group of rows, you are showing one value. You are showing this measure value without writing any formula. This kind of measure, we call it is what? Implicit measures. Implicit measures. Without writing the formula, when you show a measure value, we call that kind of measures are implicit measures, where implicit measures will help you for basic aggregations. Basic aggregations like sum, count, average, minimum, it will work. There are some times where we need to perform complex aggregations, like percentage year over year growth is a complex aggregation where you need to do. Percentage sales is a complex aggregation. This you cannot achieve with what? Implicit. Then you need to go with what? Explicit. So by writing the formula, we'll discuss that. By writing formula, if we show a measure value, if we show a measure value, we call as what? Explicit measures. So when we need to go with explicit measures is, there are some times where we need to perform complex aggregations. Complex aggregations. You will understand. This is too early to explain. You will understand. So there are sometimes you need to perform basic aggregations. Let's say I have a orders table. How many total orders are there in orders table? 999 for orders are there. 999 for orders. Each order have some sales amount. My client is asking to create one visual, and in the visual they're asking to show what is the sum of sales we are getting for all the 999 for orders. Tell me, to show sum of sales is a new information, whether we need to create a column or measure. So I want to show sum of salary. I want to show only one value for all the 999 for rows. You need to create what? Measure. So I said
Measure,
that measure can
measure.
be derived using implicit measure as well as explicit measure. So sum of salary is a base, sum of sales is a basic aggregation. You can go with what? Implicit. Implicit. I can just go and take one card visual. Into card visual, I can go to orders table. I can just drag the sales column. When I drag the sales column, it is doing what? Sum. So it is summing all the 999 for orders. It is giving this. So this one comes under implicit or explicit? Implicit. I'm not writing any formula. There are sometimes you need to. There are some complex aggregations. Last year, what is the sum of sales? Some complex aggregations you need to do. Then you need to go with what? Explicit measures. We'll discuss. For now, you just understand when to create columns and when to create measures. So in the coming classes, I'll discuss when to create the tables. This is too early to discuss now about the tables. We'll discuss in the coming classes. For now, we understand that there are sometimes client will ask you to show some new information in the tables. In order to show that new information, one scenario is you need to go to the backend table. For every row, you need to derive one value. In the backend table, for every row, when you need to derive the value, you need to derive what? Column. So there are sometimes your client will ask you to show some new information in the visual. So to derive that new information, you need to go to the backend table. In the backend table, for group of rows, you need to derive one value. For group of rows, when you need to derive the value, you need to create what? Measures. So once you create that new information, you can show 100% of information what your client is asking. Fine, guys. Now, this is what at a high level about enhancing the data model. So I just given some introduction. 10 hours of time. We'll discuss extensively about what? DAX language. When I start my actual DAX classes, 10 hours of time extensively we'll discuss about this DAX. See here in the future classes, when to create columns, when to create measures, and most importantly, you need to have what are the differences between columns and measures. All these points extensively. This is one of the important area for Power BI developer. No doubt in it. We'll discuss this for 10 hours of time, only DAX language. Now I try to introduce what will be there, what we will do. Fine, guys. Now, so far, we are done with, in Power Pivot, we are done with our two works. In Power Pivot, I said that Power BI developer will do two works. First work is what? Data modeling. Second work is what? Enhancing the data model using a language called what? DAX language. Now, tell me, you went for an interview. Interviewer is asking a question. What you will perform in Power Query? You went ETL activities. So, when interviewer is asking a question, what we will perform in Power Query? Your answer will be, what you need to answer is, you need to tell that we will perform ETL activities. We will perform what? ETL activities. So what we will perform in Power Pivot? Uh, in Power Pivot, immediately they ask a question, what you will perform in Power Pivot? What is your answer? Data modeling and enhancing the data model. So I said that in Power Pivot, in order to create a OLAP database, we'll do two works I said. What are the two works I said? That is, we'll create a data model and we will enhance the data model, right? Rather than telling these 2 points are not wrong, they're 100% correct. Rather than telling these 2 points, the best answer is this two together we call it as this data model, enhancing the data model together we call it as, in Power BI terminology, we call it as preparing a data set, guys. Preparing what? Data set. Whatever you have done so far in the Power Pivot, we call it as, in Power BI terminology, preparing a data set. So you first into Power Pivot, you loaded the tables. Once after loading the tables, you given what? Relationships. Once after giving the relationships, you derived what? New information. All these three together, we call it as what? Data set. If someone asks you what you will do in Power Pivot, no doubt this is correct. But these two together, we call it as what? Data set. Prepare a data set. Your answer will be, what you will do in Power Pivot means will prepare a data set. What is the other name for data set? Is it's a OLAP database. It's a OLAP database. This OLAP database or data set will contains 100% of information what you need to show in the visuals. What you need to show in where? Visual. So what a data set will contains. Now the question is, what a data set will contains. Okay, you are telling that in Power Pivot you will create a data set. What the data set will contains? The data set contains first what? Tables. Data set. In data set, what you will have first? Tables, and then relationships, and then new information which we created with what? DAX. DAX, right. So here, tables and relationships only will help you to show maximum how much information? 80%. Tables, relationships, and new information, all three together will help you to show how much information? 100% of information. That's what you need to do. So we clearly understand, using Power Query, we need to connect to data sources, we need to extract the tables. And then in Power Query, we need to transform the tables, how we need to show the data in the reports. The transformed data you need to load into where? Power Pivot. Once after loading the tables into the Power Pivot, you need to give the relationships. Once after giving the relationships, we need to start creating what? New information. So once you are done with this, you are done with preparing your data set. Now data set have 100% of information. What I need to show in where? Reports and visuals. Now I need to start with what? Power View. So far we just understand what we will do in Power Query, what we will do in Power Pivot. Now we need to understand what? Overview of which software? Power view. So what is the first? Let me write the definition of power view. Power view is is used to create reports or visuals, guys. Now your OLAP database is ready. Your data set is ready. All the data is there in Power Pivot. You need to present the data in the reports and visuals format. Which software will do that? Power View. Now you need to generate this kind of reports. Let me show you. Now you need to generate this kind of reports. Just to show some sample report, I'm coming here. And when I go to here, whatever the data you have in whatever the data you have in data set, the the data now currently data in the data set is in the form of what? Data set contains what? Tables. In the tables you have the data. If your client want to understand the tables data, you need to present the tables data in this visual format. This kind of visuals we need to generate. Where we can generate this kind of visuals is Power View. You need to go and generate this kind of visuals now there. So when you present the data in this kind of visuals, client can understand easily. You need to generate this kind of visuals. So when you generate this kind of visuals, so here when you go to this report, you can clearly understand what is the total. This report will explain about e-commerce sales report. When there is an e-commerce company, first they want to see how many customers they have, what is the total quantity they sold, what is the sales amount, what is the profit amount, which ship mode is giving more sales amount, and which segment is selling more, right? Which month we are getting the more sales value. So like this we need to generate some reports to analyze the data. So we'll generate that reports on what? Data set. Using which software? Power View. So here we call this one as each one as one visual. Pie chart is one visual. Column chart is one visual. Line chart is one visual. All these visuals together we call it as report. We call it as what? Report. So you need to develop these visuals or reports using which software? Power View is used to create reports or visuals by taking what? Data set as source. By taking data set as source. So to create these reports or visuals, which is your source? Data set. The data set is available in which software? Power Pivot. Whatever the data set you derived in the Power Pivot, you need to use the data set in Power View, and you need to generate what? Reports. So where we will generate the reports? So we'll do the ETL in where? Transform data. We'll do data modeling in where? Model view. We'll create new information in where? Data view. We will create visuals in where? Report view. Report view is the place where this view name is what? Report view. So when you go to report view, you'll get report canvas. Report canvas is the place where you'll build what? Visuals. Collection of visuals, we call it as what? Report. So let me write here. We will build the report in the report view. We'll create report visuals, or we'll create reports or visuals in where? Report view. Report view. Now I am in the report view. I'll create it. By this time, you need to have the clear idea. In Power BI Desktop, where do we have three softwares? Tell me, what is the first software you have in Power BI Desktop? Power Query. Tell me, where do you have Power Query in Power BI Desktop? Yes, under the transform data, you will have Power Query. This is the place where Microsoft incorporated Power Query. Yes, Power Query is available under transform data. Transform data. What you will do there? We will perform ETL activities there. What is the next software you have in Power BI Desktop? Power Pivot. Where do you have Power Pivot? Under model view and data view together. This model view, data view together is what? Power Pivot. So model view plus data view together. Model view plus data view together is Power Pivot. Why? Because in Power Pivot you'll create a data set. In Power Pivot you'll create what? Data set. The data set will be created using which two views? Model view plus data view. Model view will do data modeling. Data view will create what? New information. These two together we use to prepare what? Data set. What is the third software? Power View. Where do we have Power View? Report view, what you will create there? Visuals or reports? We'll create visuals or reports, right? By this time, we are very clear in Power BI Desktop, where do we have three softwares, right? So you need to be in the report view. You need to generate this kind of report. Tomorrow class, I'll explain how to generate this kind of report in Power View. Tomorrow we'll see how to generate the Power View using Power View, how to generate the report, and that report, how to publish it to the Power BI service, how to share with our client. We'll see in tomorrow's class. Tomorrow's class is class number what? Class number 5. Last introduction class. In the last introduction class, I'll discuss about both Power View as well as what? Power BI service. By tomorrow, we'll complete the complete process, starting from OLTP till clients, how to publish it to Power BI service. You will generate a report using Power View. Then I'll show you how to publish it to the Power BI service. Then I'll show you how to share with your clients. Right? Let us stop here. We'll continue from here in tomorrow's class, guys. You have a class tomorrow. We'll discuss. I'll go with questions now. Anybody have any questions?